This is probably going to be the first time I ever speak about Elizabeth Banks on my channel, but she's not the first type of person in which I'm going to discuss as far as this topic goes. So, in case y'all didn't know or don't know who she is an actress slash producer slash director. Now, I guess you can add those last two to her name. And the first time I got introduced to her was when she was in the Hunger Game movies. But now she's recently starring in, directed, and produced the new Charlie's Angels film that came out this past weekend. That was a flop. Now, anybody who knows, well, anyone like myself who knows that when they first showed the trailer for the first film, not for the first film, for the first trailer for this movie, knew it was going to be a flop. When I saw that trailer, I knew it was going to be horrible. Just looking at the trailer, and everybody else who looked at it knew it too. I truly believe the studios knew this movie was going to flop as well. You can always tell a film is going to flop when they don't put a lot of marketing behind it. And that's exactly what happened with this. I think I only saw a couple commercials about the movie, and it was mainly the week that the movie came out. When that means they were being desperate to get people to go watch it because they knew it wasn't going to be good. But anyway, Elizabeth Banks pulled out of her ass, like many women in Hollywood tend to do, and say that the reason why their movie flopped or didn't make any money or make the money it should have is because men don't support female-led action-based films. Now, the budget for this film was $48 million. This past weekend, it only brought in $8 million. They are $40 million short of their budget, probably more than that, which is probably why they didn't put much money into marketing, which is like a whole nother budget, because they knew it wouldn't make it. But she came out and said that men do not go and see female-led action films, which could not be any more of a lie if she tried. And she tried to reach with this one, because that's just simply not true. Look at Wonder Woman. Came out in 2017. That movie almost made $1 billion. That was almost DC's first billion, well, not DC's first $1 billion film, but almost DC's first $1 billion female-led superhero film. It was only short of maybe 100-something million. Men were pretty much almost the majority audience, or almost neck and neck with women when that movie came out. Look at the Tomb Raider films. Some will argue that they didn't like it and everything like that, but look at the demographic. There was a lot of men that went to go and see that film. One, because it was based off of a very popular video game that a lot of men played back in the day. And that was rare to see a female-led a female-led video game actually do well, especially during those times. Both the ones with Angelina Jolie and the one that came out, last year. I like the one that came out last year. Some people argued that they didn't. I actually did, because it followed the game. I didn't play the game, but I watched the gameplay and I was like, oh, I see the similarities there. And as bad as Captain Marvel was, a lot of some men went to go see that, as bad as it was. And there's a host of other female-led action films that men go out and support to see. Hell, when the first Charlie's Angels movies came out, the ones back in the early 2000s with Cameron Diaz and Lucy Liu and Drew Barrymore, I was one of those I would say males, because at the time I was still a boy. Like when the first one came out, I was 11, and when the second one came out with Bernie Mac, I was 14, and I saw those. So for her to sit up there and say that men don't support women or female-led action films is very disingenuous, and it's a cop-out. It's a huge cop-out. Because if you look at those demographics and look at how the box office numbers look this weekend, if you were targeting a mainly female audience, and based on some of the comments I've seen, women didn't go and see it either. But she ain't going to attack that. She's not going to attack that base. And another thing that I didn't like was that she cast herself as Bosley. Everybody knows that Bosley is a male character. There's two main males in the Charlie's Angels franchise. That's Charlie, and we don't see him because he's coming through a voice box, and Bosley, who is basically his assistant, and he's like the right hand man to the three women. That's how it was in the show. That's how it was in the first two films. But she cast herself as Bosley. When I saw that in the trailer, I paused it when I was watching. I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" She cast herself as Bosley. Yes, we know she's the director. Yes, we know she's the producer. Yes, we know she's starring in it, but she didn't have to cast herself as one of the only or one of the few male roles that was notable in the Charlie's Angels franchise. But she did it anyway. So that brought two men down to one. I'm surprised they didn't go and make Charlie Charlene. That's one of the things I said. That was one of the running jokes I had. I said I'm surprised they didn't make Charlie into a woman. I mean, they might as well at this point and just have it be an all-female cast. But she came out of her mouth and said that men do not support or do not go see men action-led films. Like I said, that was a cop-out for her to say that. To hide the fact that she had to have known that this movie was not going to do well. The studio didn't believe in it. A lot of people didn't even know a Charlie's Angels film was coming out until people started doing reviews about them. That's how low the marketing was. Many people probably won't even know that there's a Charlie's Angel movie until they see my video talking about her. Many people probably knew, but just still didn't care. I had no intentions to see this movie. Even when it comes on or pops up on my Fire Stick, I still won't watch it. If I want to watch Charlie's Angels, I'll go back and watch the first two original films. It's just that this movie didn't have anything. And then when people found out that Kristen Stewart was going to be a part of it, that was another turnoff. Because a lot of people still don't like her for what she did when she was a part of Snow White and the Huntsman. You know, that affair she had with that director. And many people are still mad about that, are still feeling the type of way about that. That right there damn near ruined her career. She's lucky she's even getting this opportunity. It might be one of her last opportunities. And to be honest, I wouldn't even be upset. Because remember, I did a video about her. I'm tired of her too. Now, the other two actresses that were in the film, they'll probably still have a chance, especially the actress whose name is Naomi Scott, because she just recently is coming off of being Princess Jasmine in Aladdin, which was one of the biggest movies that came out this year. So this is her flop of the year right here, but she can still bounce back. Now, the other actress, I've never heard of her. She's fairly new, so she's starting off on the wrong foot, but I think she can bounce back. But as far as Kristen Stewart goes, no. Elizabeth Banks, this is probably the nail in the coffin of her career right here. Because she hasn't been a part of a very big franchise in a while. The last movie she did this year before this was Brightburn, which came out back in May. And even then, that movie didn't make a lot of money, but it had a much more better reception than this Charlie's Angels debacle. But the last big franchise she's been a part of was the Hunger Games. And the last Hunger Game movie came out in 2016? I think it was, or 15, one of the two. Which ironically was one of the last big franchises that Jennifer Lawrence has been a part of. I don't count that damn X-Men franchise where she was Mystique, because let's be real here, she will never be Rebecca Romijn. That's the Mystique I acknowledge. But yeah, Elizabeth Banks, that was a huge reach that she made there. And speaking of female-led or females behind the scenes, there was this interview that J-Lo did with Robert Pattinson on something called Actors on Actors, which is basically a YouTube show that they have. I think it's through Vanity, where actors interview other actors. And she started talking about female-led directors and how they don't get the proper treatment, or they don't get better received and things like that. I said, well, if they would start making some decent films, And that's not a shot at all of them, because there are some female directors out there that make decent films, such as Patty Jenkins, who made Wonder Woman. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with Wonder Woman 84. Especially since most of it was shot in the DMV area where I live. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that. You can't sit there, you can say I have my issues with her, but Ava DuVernay, when she did When They See Us, phenomenal. She needed that, especially after doing that damn A Wrinkle in Time, which was another flop, and that was a female-led film, but it just wasn't good. But that too, when they talk about female directors, it is nothing about them being a female. See, that's the thing. They love to use their gender to push this narrative that if it doesn't get support, that is somehow being that men are being anti-female talent, whether in front of or behind the scenes or behind the camera. Then that's far from the truth. Now they got this brand new Black Christmas movie that's coming out. I remember I saw the trailer for that when I went to go see It Chapter 2, and I was instantly turned off. One, because they showed damn near the entire movie in the trailer, and two, it looks like another female-led film where they going around beating up on the guys, and all the guys are the villain and things like that. The one that came out, the Black Christmas that came out in 2006, was a flop too. But at least they didn't market it the way that they did this one. They just practically showed the whole damn film in the trailer. And that movie comes out next month. Then they got that Harley Quinn movie, that Birds of Prey, which I think is going to flop as well, which should just be a movie about Harley Quinn, to be quite honest. Because you only got one character in the movie that we really know who it is. A lot of people aren't familiar with Black Canary or that other character. We're familiar with Journey Smollett, who's playing Black Canary. But we're not familiar. A lot of people aren't familiar with her character that she's playing. I think the next female-led movie that will be successful will be Black Widow, and that doesn't come out until May. And the reason I say that is because people know who she is. She's a part of the Avengers, and a lot of men have been wanting to see her have her own film for the last, I don't know how many years now. She should have had one before Captain Marvel, and I'm gonna stand firmly in my square with that. Black Widow should have had a film before she did, because she was the first female that we were exposed to when it was pretty much male dominated as far as an Avenger. And then right after that, you get the second Wonder Woman movie, which I'm very sure is going to have a lot of men's support behind it. One, because Wonder Woman was created by a man, both comic-wise and storyline-wise. She was brought to life by Zeus, the Thunder God. And they said she's a feminist hero, but she doesn't male bash either. Like, you can go back and look at the first movie, and not cringe at anything. But see, when a lot of these female directors and actors and actresses throw their narratives into there, they throw a feminazi storyline in there, it turns people off. And quiet as it's kept, it turns a lot of females away as well. A lot of women are tired of it too. It's not just the men, but they'll have you believe that it's just the men that are perpetuating it, when it's really not, because they're tired of it. People in general are tired of this feminist ideology being pushed in these films as if that's the way to get your point across, and it's not. You can come up with an original storyline that has not one shred of feminist propaganda in it and watch it become successful. But for them, all they have is their feminist ideology. That's all they have. Their movies are going to continue to flop as long as they continue to do it, just like those whitewashed ancient Egypt movies like Gods of Egypt and Exodus. Notice that they haven't made another movie like that since since Gods of Egypt, and that came out 3 years ago, and they haven't made one like it since, because now I think they've gotten a hint. To all the female directors or female actresses out there who want to make female-led films, take the hint. That's why your movies are flopping. Take the goddamn hint. That is why your movies are not successful. Because people can spot BS a mile away. I saw this flop coming the minute I saw the trailer. To be honest, I saw it coming a mile away when I saw who they had casted. When I saw Kristen Stewart's name up there, I already knew what direction it was headed. I knew it. Anything attached with her in it tends to flop. Her career hasn't been the same since she did Snow White and the Huntsman. And that was back in 2012. And she was coming right off the cusp of doing those Twilight movies, which really propelled her career. And then on top of that, I think in the movie, they made her a Alphabet Academy angel. Let's just put it that way. Which doesn't surprise me because when you look at her real life, it pretty much speaks for itself. So Elizabeth Banks, it wasn't because men did not support women-led action films. It's just because your film is some shit. That's why. No one's going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. You may not see this video, but whatever. Your film is some shit. It'll probably be out of the theaters by the end of the month, which is what? At the end of next week. And it'll be on Blu-ray probably before or by the beginning of next year. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.